Hi, and welcome to Two CPAs and the Mic, the podcast where we talk tax, finance, and all things related to business. Whether you're a business owner, working professional, or someone who wants to start a career in accounting, this is the podcast for you. Hosted by CCK Strategies partners Jeff Frable and Sara Mays, we dive into relevant business and tax matters with working professionals to make these topics less intimidating, relatable, and dare we say fun? Let's get down to business.
Welcome to this week's episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. What's up, Mays?
What's up, Frable? Hey, so we're rolling into summer. We thought it'd be a great time to revisit some of those standout conversations and highlights from this past year.
Yeah, and honestly, these are episodes that are still incredibly relevant. Whether you missed them the first time or just need a refresher, there's a lot of good stuff here.
So we pulled together some amazing episodes, memorable moments, and insights that still feel just as fresh now.
Exactly. So if you're hearing this exchange, we're bringing back a few of those standout episodes, kind of a best of series to get you through the summer.
That's right. So if you're on the road, in the office, or trying to stay productive between vacations, hopefully this gives you something valuable and maybe even a little entertaining.
All right, let's jump into it. Here's one of our standout summer picks. Welcome back to another episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. We're so glad you joined us here today. We are covering relevant business and tax topics, but doing so by applying straight talk, practical information, sometimes some humor, but not the jargon that normally comes with our industry. If you are a business owner, new or seasoned, you are in for a treat today. If you are a business professional, new or seasoned, you are in for a treat today. But the first treat is my amazing co-host, Sara Mays. What up?
I was going to do it, Frable.
What up? So, Sara, you had a big night last night. You went to...
We did. We saw Beauty and the Beast at the Tulsa PAC for opening night, and I know this will be, when this actually drops, it'll be a week or so after, but it was friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So
I'm trying to talk Frable into going on his scheduled night.
You know, the thing that I always appreciate about you going is, so Sara goes on Tuesday nights, and I go on Thursday night, but I always ask Sara, how good is the play? But then the second question is, how good is the drink? Because they have a special show drink. And so she gets to try it out first.
Yes.
And then...
I didn't get a response. I texted you the picture last night.
It said bourbon, and I was
I
like,
know, that's why
I don't know.
Well, when Robert and I went through the line, and I saw the bourbon, and we looked at each other like, blech. And so I got a Diet Dr. Pepper, and he got a water. And then the lady's like, there's an off-menu drink called the Enchanted Rose.
Oh.
And it had like vodka, something sparkling in it. And I was like, you had me sold at sparkling. So I got that, and it was great.
Okay.
So
well,
if you go, get the Enchanted Rose.
The other option is
What color?
It's pink.
Yeah, you
it's
gotta
pretty.
do it. Jeff.
Well, the other option to the bourbon drink is just drink it real fast. Right.
Well, then you don't get to enjoy the play.
At least
you'll be
the
asleep.
first half.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time last night. As always, KP is with us. Christy, what's going on?
How? I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah,
Happy. Hearing about Beauty and the Beast.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing.
Be our guest.
Be our guest.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, we'll see.
I might sing for Lisa.
Oh,
Do it.
Do it.
Be
Double R.
guest.
Yes.
All right, we gotta get focused here, or else we're gonna go 2 hours with this podcast. We have an amazing show today. We have what I would call a Tulsa legend in the house today. She may laugh a little bit about that, but she's got so much wisdom, so much understanding. I think anyone listening to this is going to pull away things like commitment, adaptability, pivoting, all those kind of things. She is assured us she is not a fake person. So you are going to get some authenticity, some vulnerability, but we have Lisa Riley with us today. Lisa you got quite a bit of awards.
Oh my God. Oh, awards? I thought you were talking about my resume.
No, awards.
It's just all over the place.
Yeah, I mean,
I have, and I will say it's embarrassing to talk about awards to me because I don't. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I as much as I'm an outgoing person, it feels weird for people to look at my stuff that I've personally tried to work on. And so, anyways.
Well, and that's the kind of people we love. So we know that would make you uncomfortable. But let's just share for a moment if we could.
Get into that
uncomfortable. Loading now.
Woman in Small Business Champion of the Year in 2016. Small Business Person Business of the Year 2015 through 2019 with various chambers like Broken Arrow and Tulsa. get this one, Small Business Person of the Year awarded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. So this was not just a local award. This
in
was
2020.
In 2020.
Can I tell you a really funny story about that?
Go right ahead.
So obviously COVID hit in the beginning part of 2020, and I did not know that I had won Small Business Person of the Year for the U.S. through the U.S. Chamber.
Okay.
I had won the U.S. Small Business Person of the Year for the state of Oklahoma. So when you win for your state, then they put you into the national thing. Well, they didn't tell me they put me in the national thing. I didn't know that I won it. And a guy called me, I don't know, 6 months later and was like, so I'm really sorry that we had to cancel the award ceremony in D.C. where you would have lunch with Melania Trump.
Oh.
And I was like, what are you I thought this was a sales call. I seriously thought it was a sales call. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, what do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about? And he just keeps talking and sales pitching about the U.S. Chamber. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even a member of the U.S. Chamber. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, hang on. Did no one call you to tell you that you won? And I said, no, I had no idea. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it turns out because everyone got sent home from COVID,
Right.
the people that were supposed to notify the winners for that year of all the categories went home and didn't do it.
Okay.
So in every year, if you win the chamber one, you get to go to D.C. and have some special lunch with somebody.
It's a big
It's usually the
deal.
first
Yeah, it
lady
is.
or something. I didn't know that. So I missed a chance to go. I love D.C. So anyways, it was a funny story. I won that award. Didn't know until the guy cold called me to ask if I wanted to promote my business about it in an article. And then I got an award mailed the next week to my house. And I was like, holy crap, I won this big award. And nobody knows, including myself. Right.
What I was waiting to hear was that they had the luncheon, you didn't show up, and you stood up Melania Trump. That's the way I would tell the story.
No, it was during COVID, so there was no lunch.
Have they done any? I mean, like they need to get you back
they
in
need
their
to make
lunch.
up for it.
Yes,
is what I'm
right
saying.
up and just moved right on.
U.S. Chamber.
Yes,
Melania
U.S.
Trump.
Chamber.
We need to recognize
It's been 6
Lisa.
years.
Yeah.
Well, it's a funny story. I think it's hilarious because I didn't know I won and no one else
That
did
is
either.
a cool story.
We're trying to get you a free lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And a free trip.
Right,
too.
free trip. I
You
do
know,
love
we-
DC.
We do it in April whenever the cherry blossoms are out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do have dozens of listeners. So if you have a personal connection to the
To
U.S.
US
Chamber,
Chamber.
let them know Lisa Riley needs
Yes,
her lunch.
Please. Well, I think it's a funny story.
It is a
anyways.
great story. Last award, which I think is really cool as well, is you have been in the top 100 alumni for Oklahoma State University. Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
That's what you
Go
got to say.
Pokes.
I guess you got to say that. For 2021, 2023, and 2024.
And 25.
And 25.
Oh, nice.
And
Congratulations.
I'm nominated
Yes.
again this year.
I just
Thank
think that's
you.
a really,
Awesome.
because there are so many people that went to that school.
Yeah.
And to be awarded that is really a high, cool honor. So
Thank you. Me being aware of things and how things work, I'm like, I probably got it because I'm a female and not many females nominated. I don't know. I think of all the reasons why.
Because you're awesome.
Well,
and
thank
that's
you.
about it.
Word.
I mean, really, it's not about gender.
No.
It's because you are Lisa
Well,
Lisa.
and you're awesome.
listen, do you want to be my hype person? Like, I want you to just come around with me and be my hype person every week. That would be great.
Yeah.
What's your middle name?
Well, notice that I didn't say anything about the gender thing being the only male on this recording. So
Yeah.
I just kind of
You are smart.
You are
Yeah.
so smart.
So, Lisa, we want to get into this.
Yeah,
and really
dig in.
what we want to do is you really have an interesting story from beginning to end to current day. And so we're going to get into that, but just give us a brief highlight overview of who you are. Why should people listen? What have you done? But again, we're going to go into the details later, but
Sure.
give us that overview.
So, quick overview. I'm from a small town in Oklahoma called Bixby. It's a suburb of
Go
Tulsa.
Where's
Bixby
that?
Spartans.
And I'm an only child, so I'm not a typical only child. I'm very independent. My mom was a dean at a college. My dad was a computer scientist, so we're all overachievers. And type A, all the things. I'm starting to get less type A as I get older, which is really funny. My husband would say I'm not type A anymore because my laundry in the laundry room is not type A. It's all folded and perfectly organized, but it's not hung up.
Mm.
But anyways,
well, folded is a good accomplishment.
I
right
graduated, went to Oklahoma State, and then I started my career at Quick Trip at their corporate office in marketing. And then within a year, moved over to petroleum and worked on their trade floor for many years.
So
Wow.
just for those that are not from the Tulsa area or really the Midwest, Quick Trip is a major convenience store chain that's based in Tulsa but is down in Texas.
Fortune
It's
500.
QT now.
QT.
Yeah,
It's
QT,
as far as Ohio.
Yeah.
We saw it there the other day.
They have some in Chicago now.
Convenience store and gas station.
Yeah.
But
And blows away
all the way to
puppies.
Florida.
Yeah.
Cleanest
East
bathrooms
Coast.
ever.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
cleanest
this
bathrooms.
is not just some mom
Yeah.
and pop
No,
7-Eleven.
it's a $5 billion corporation.
Yeah.
Ironically, I still do contract work for them,
And we'll get to that.
which a lot of people
Cool.
don't know about. But I worked on their trade floor for many years, and then I met my husband on a business trip. He worked for an oil and gas company where I stored all of Quick Trip's fuel for Atlanta stores at. And then he asked me to marry him, and he got promoted to a job in Houston. So I gave up my career at Quick Trip, moved to Houston, and worked at ConocoPhillips on their trade floor, managing a refinery in LA, all their refined products. And so my background's oil and gas. When I wanted to move back home, my mother got sick and passed away, unfortunately. I didn't want my dad to be here by himself, and I missed home. And I was not a fan of Houston. Like, Houston's great if you don't have kids. If you're a dink, beautiful. But if you have kids, it's a nightmare because you never see them. My commute every day just to get to and from work without leaving city limits was 3 hours a day.
Whoa.
And some days, if there was a wreck, it took me 6 hours to get home from work. And I was like, this is not a life. I'm in my car.
Yeah.
So I wanted to move home, and I couldn't find a job. So I was out at a Pinot's pallet. And I went as a team building with a group of coworkers. And long story short, one of them was like, why don't you just buy one of these? You've been wanting to move home. Like, you manage a refinery in LAX airport's fuel. Like, you could easily run a franchise art studio. And I was like, and I drank just enough wine that I was like, I think you're right. I could do this. And funny story, I wrote and applied for the franchise while I was in the class drinking.
What?
And then I forgot that I did it.
Oh.
So this is
That's a little more than a little bit of
honest right
wine.
here.
I am hearing, okay.
So I'm an accidental
Are you
entrepreneur.
Are you sure you weren't notified about the SBA award and forgot about that too? I mean, just anyway.
So it's just funny because I stumbled into entrepreneurship. Like, I've always, even when I was a kid, I would look at buildings. I remember this so vividly. There was a restaurant off of 71st Memorial called Chi-Chi's, and it was a Mexican restaurant. I loved the building, and I kept thinking, no, it doesn't need to be a restaurant. I want to turn it into like a club or something, like something fun. And I remember like being in 7th grade, and I don't know why, driving with my mom in her Lincoln Town car down Memorial and being like, that could be the coolest building. Like, it needs to be something else. I mean, I enjoyed the food.
It turned into a club.
It ended up, but it was funny. I remember in 7th grade going, like, thinking thoughts of like that, like walking into a place and being like, I could do that better.
Yeah.
Or I would do it differently. Or like, anyway, so I always had kind of an entrepreneurial thought process. But I'm very take after my dad. I was risk adverse, if you notice the word. And I very much loved working in the corporate world because it was a paycheck. It was insurance. It was guarantee money. I had PTO. Like, I liked the structure of it. And anyways, I couldn't find a job, and I applied for that franchise. They called me a few weeks later. I researched it for 7 months before I convinced my husband to actually do it with me. Because he was like, you don't even know how to paint. Like, why would you buy? And I'm like, listen, if I can run a refinery, like this should be easy. Little did I know, managing people instead of moving machinery parts, totally different process. And anyways, but long story short, 7 months later, my husband was like, let's do this and move back to Oklahoma. He's not from here. And the rest is history. It was 14 years ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that was a fast little speed up.
Yeah, there's some hiccups and some bumps in there that we'll get into. But
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great story of how you started in one place, ended up in another place, and took that risk.
Yeah.
And so, kind of as we start to this transition into getting into a little bit more detail, what is it about that high pace, data driven environment? Because it wasn't just kick back for 8 hours a day at a desk and not do anything. How did that all translate into when you opened up the business? What prepared you for that? What kind of skills did you get during that time that helped you in that process opening up your own franchise?
I've never been asked that ever.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a great question.
Good job.
That's definitely a great question. I don't think I've my whole life I've been asked, do you have ADD? I'm like, no, I don't have ADD. I do. And thinking about it, I loved the pace of being on a trade floor because everything was finite, like it's numbers, right? I am not good at numbers. That's one reason why I hire CCK to do my accounting and tax stuff every year. But what I am good at is putting people together. I'm a connector. And I loved how fast-paced working on a trade floor was because The traders would buy a deal. I would put it together. I would call the other company, make deals happen. Or I'd be like, ooh, I see the value in this. We can make $1 million off of this if I have this guy trade with this one and do this. And so I'd be like, hey, move my phone out of the way and be like, hey, go buy this from so-and-so, do this. They're doing this. They're short on this. Go get this. And then we just made money. And I could see it clearly where a lot of people don't see that clearly. Now, you put me in front of an accounting workbook, I will screw some crap up real fast. Like QuickBooks is a black hole for me. And I know that sounds really basic. That's like
that's our trading
kill an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But you give me QuickBooks and I will start crying in the corner in the fetal position. Like, it's really strange. So working on a trade floor was really great for me. And I think what made me realize, I don't think if I realized, I think I was just dumb enough and naive enough to think I could translate that into being a business owner. And there was a lot of things that it really did help me with. Like it taught me how to be able to talk to people really quickly and get things done and not beat around the bush and just be direct. I also loved working with mainly men. That's a really strange thing to say, but it took me out of being over-analyzing everything.
And the emotion.
Yes. Taking all of that out of there, because guys don't do that. They would look at me and I won't cuss, but they'll say like, we would screw up a deal and they'd be like, F you, and that sucked, and we just lost our shorts on that. And then they would turn around 5 minutes later and be like, what do you want for lunch? Let's go. And I loved that. And I loved that it was like you could have that kind of dialogue and also it not be personal. So I realized that was kind of setting me up for success of being a small business owner and realizing that everyone communicates differently based on their personalities or their jobs. And I had never been that way before. I had always just seen my own lens, and embarrassingly so. And so what I think helped me with is I was faster at things. I could get things done really quick because I was used to working on a trade floor and we had to have everything done by close. Like it was like, I would schedule 10 million barrels in one trade day and we would make millions. And then I would be like, okay, go home, take care of baby. And it was just like, you turn it on and off.
Wow.
And I think that translated into being a small business owner and learning when to jump in and letting it really be emotional and emotionally driven discussions or decisions or just business decisions in general, or just being linear and being like, this is just what has to happen for the business to be successful. I don't know if that answered your question.
Did.
Wow.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's so good.
Absolutely.
More than an
so
answer.
switching it.
Yeah.
What did the corporate life not prepare you for?
Making my own paycheck. Like,
The
let's
comfort?
be really
Right.
honest about that,
let's
right?
be honest.
When you're a small business owner, you're the last to get paid. Yep. Right. If bills aren't, if it's a slow season or like the snowstorm that we're having right now, we had to cancel 17 classes. That is a ton of revenue for a small business. And it's really hard. And so there were days where I was like, wait, we went from one swing of like $80,000 in the bank on Monday, on Friday, we were down to 10. And it's just because all 3 stores, the rent was due. That's $25,000 in a month. Payroll was 20. Like it just is so fast and it's so furious. And it's like, I was not prepared for that kind of swing. I was used to just consistency and always thinking that it was just going to stay the same. I didn't realize halfway through my journey of being a successful small business owner that I was going to have to dig in deep and fight again to get us back in front of people because maybe the newness wore off a little bit.
Right.
Maybe it was like other competitors came to town. Those are the things you don't think about. But I was just naive enough to be like, oh, we got this, no problem, and jump right back in and then boost sales back up. But those are the things I didn't think about.
Right.
Did you realize you were this good in the chaos?
No,
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I
Because
still don't
the
think I'm
way-
good at
The
it.
way you're describing what you did on the floor, you seem like someone who didn't get completely rattled in something that looks so chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It
But
was super chaotic.
But
You're right.
You
I've
made
never
it your
thought about
rhythm.
that.
You made it your rhythm.
Yes.
But if you look at it from this new lens,
Yeah.
there's chaos. It just has a different speed and a different
Yeah. It looks different,
style.
right?
Yeah.
I never thought about that before, but you're right. It totally is just a separate chaos. It's just a different product. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go home and analyze that.
I got your back, girl.
I love it. I love it.
So we move into these, what we'll call the Pinot years.
Okay.
You basically went into what I'll call an industry, but a franchise that you Well, I think it's a foregone conclusion that you are an amazing artist, correct? That's why you chose to do this franchise.
No. I've never
How does that work?
painted. So, it's funny. I actually, the night that I went with my coworkers to do a team building, I actually canceled. I was leaving to go home because we lived in Houston and it was an hour and a half commute home. I was like, I don't want somebody spending money on me when I've never painted before. I don't know how to paint. Like, I feel bad somebody spending money on me. And my coworkers were like, no, it's for people who've never painted before. Like, it's fun. And we drink wine. And I was like, I'm really good at that.
Right.
Like, okay, fine. I'll go. And I went kind of by accident because I wasn't going to go. And I'd already told my husband I was on my way home. And then I called him back and said, okay, I'm going to go out with everybody because everyone's going and I feel bad if I don't. And I ended up having a good time. But what was your question? I totally lost my thought.
You're not an artist.
No, I'm not art. Thank you. So I painted and I was like, well, look, that actually looks like a flower. It looks crappy, but I made an object that looked like whatever. But I decided that in that moment, I was like, if I can manage all of these refinery moving cargo ships, import, exports, massive ships, like the big tanker ships that you see on TV and movies. I managed those. We sent them. I managed all the port stuff as well and the LAX airport. And I thought, if I can do that, how hard is it to manage artists in a studio where people are having fun and drinking alcohol?
Right.
I mean, I had blinders on. And I think that was important to have those blinders on because if I would have thought about the risk of that, I probably would have never jumped.
Mm-hmm.
The other part, too, I would imagine, is that it's not the art that is the basis for what you're doing. It's the medium you're using, but what you want is people to come in to have fun, to be
relationships.
And you know nothing about that kind of stuff,
right?
So.
Me being I'm using air quotes. You can't see introvert. I'm a complete 100% extrovert. You're right. The reason I decided to do Pinots, I'll be real honest. We're on the trust bus here. One of the reasons I bought Pinots was I thought if I ever owned a business where customers would have the least amount of complaints, I'm not joking. I sat my husband down. I said, this is the one business where people won't complain. They're making their own product. If they're mad, it's their fault. Themselves. So I was, as much as my family is very risk adverse, that I was raised very risk adverse, I thought this is the safest way for me to be an entrepreneur and it be creative and it be fun. And I also, at the time, said to my husband, it's something we're putting into the world that's positive. And nowadays, there's no positivity being put into the world.
Right.
And I thought, there's no downside to it. You have people coming in reconnecting. You have people coming and doing something they didn't think they could do. And they're like, you see them at the end of the class looking at their painting so proud or walking out and going, my painting sucked, but that was so fun. I got to spend time with my friends. I put my phone down. I actually talked to my spouse or my best friend.
I mean, just laughing.
And so I thought, there's no downside to it. Now I'm a business owner. I see downsides to certain things. But that was my thought process was we're putting something good into the world and it's the safest bet. I mean, being really honest, that's why I told my husband and he was like, I would have never thought of that. And I'm like, but it's my way of being risk adverse, but really kind of jumping off the cliff a little bit with a really big parachute.
It's really an amazing. I never thought about that, but it makes perfect sense.
I have never told anybody that before. Wow. I'm being very honest.
Now there's dozens of people that know.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, but I do want to know. Was your predictions correct? I mean, do you have any complaints at all?
I hate rent.
Unless you are a landlord.
Yeah, unless I'm the landlord.
I did mean customer complaints.
I don't really have customer complaints. We get maybe 4 a year.
Oh, that's
which is
good.
unheard of. We'll have people have little things, but it's stuff that they didn't read what we sent them.
Yeah.
Or, the typical thing of Americans where we're all just shoot from the hip and we're quick and whatever. I don't want to read it. You just tell me what I need to do. And so it's little things like that where people just didn't prepare themselves. And usually it's something simple like what time to get there. They'll show up right when class starts when we say be there 15 minutes early so you have time to get a drink and put your apron on and not be rushed and messing up the class time. It's usually stuff where they're like, I felt rushed. And I'm like, well, you arrived 20 minutes after the painting started. Right. So I don't know what to tell you with that.
Right.
But every once in a while we'll get a couple of customers, but it's usually something really silly. It's not anything that somebody just doesn't need to be heard and we talk it through. And I'm one of those owners where I don't think the customer's wrong. So like I said, I worked for Quick Trip and I was fortunate enough to start my career when Chester Cadjo, the founder of Quick Trip, the co-founder of Quick Trip, was still the CEO.
Wow.
And funny story, when I started at Quick Trip, they had run out of offices. It was their original corporate office. It was a 1-story building. It was a quarter of a mile long. And they literally had no office for me. I was a temporary employee with 3 college degrees who was paid $10 an hour for 30 hours a week with no benefits. And that's how I got my foot in the door. And I started there. They set me in the hallway in a little makeshift cubicle because there was nowhere to put me. They had outgrown the office. I was the last employee, I think, that they had hired before they built the new corporate office. And I was next to the main copy machine. They had this massive copy machine that the whole company used.
Copies.
Yeah. Yes, that. And all the VPs used it. Everyone used this one massive copy machine. Well, I was set next to it. So people would say, "Oh, you're the copy girl." And I'm like, I don't make copy. Like, I work in marketing, but I couldn't even put me in the marketing department. Like, I was literally outside the department. And what's funny is working there, the first month, I passed this older gentleman carrying a trash can every morning at 7 a.m. because I'm an early riser, get up like 4:35. So I would show up every morning at like 7. This older gentleman walked by, thought he was the janitor for months. Turns out one day he was walking through with these group of men in a suit and tie, and he said, "This is my boss, Lisa." Well, first of all, I'd never introduced myself, so I didn't know he knew my name. And I said, "Oh, I don't," and I was naive, so naive. And I said, "Oh, I don't have any direct reports. Like, I'm an hourly employee. Like, I'm a nobody. I'm not even a full-time employee." And he laughed because he was joking, but I thought he was being serious. And I said, no, I don't have any direct reports. And I met all these guys in these suits, and they all walked off with him to a conference room. Somebody was walking by, and they said, "So how do you know Chester?" And I said, "Who's Chester?" And they looked at me, and they were like, "The guy that you were just talking to." And I said, "The janitor?" And they went, "Oh my God, that's the founder and CEO of a $1 billion corporation that pays your paycheck." Well, Chester found out about it. Well, I was really tiny. I was super fit. I was right out of college. And so I weighed a lot less than I do, is why I say that. And so I would just bounce around the office. And so he nicknamed me Pixie. So it became this whole thing. Well, the reason I say that is I learned very valuable from Chester while working at Quick Trip. He said, if you are not taking care of a customer, you better be taking care of the person who is taking care of the customer. That is all over their building. It still is. It's still in their warehouse, which I worked there a couple of days a week as a contractor, which is a totally different career that I've started 6 years ago outside of Pinot's. But that was a very valuable lesson to me. So I operate my businesses as everything is approachable. So if somebody's upset, if a customer's upset, don't put it off. Call them directly.
Yeah.
And just talk to them as a human. Don't try to talk to them as a business, because when you do that, they feel unheard and they feel unseen, and it escalates something that was very small to a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very like, if a customer's upset, I'm like, give me their number. I'll call them. Like, you can call them and try to tackle it, but I'm happy to also call them. And sometimes I always let my management handle it first. And if they say, you need to probably call them.
Yeah.
Then I say, no problem. Give me their number. And I call them right then. I say, give me the backstory. What did you all talk about? So I understand. So I'm not going into this blindly. And then I always call them and say, you know what? You're right. We totally screwed up. Happy to give you your money back. Happy to give you a gift certificate for you to bring your whole family. That's on us. I'm the first to own a mistake. And I make a lot of them. But I learn from them every time. And so that's kind of how I run stuff, is I learned that from Chester. Is like, you're not taking care of the customer. You better be taking care of the person that is.
Nice.
And so I hope that, I feel like that kind of went like this.
No, that was beautiful.
Lots of golden nuggets in there. Just the concept that the owner, CEO, whatever we want to call them, is functioning in that manner. That was kind of like, what was the show where the boss comes in and dresses up or works like a regular employee, undercover boss.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing that before it was even
well,
hip to do so.
So funny story. He wasn't dressed like that on purpose. That's just how he dressed. He always wore khakis with tennis shoes and then a shirt, like a polo shirt or a t-shirt. Chet, his son, who's now the CEO, he wears shorts and flip-flops and t-shirts. Like, he doesn't dress any differently. But the reason he was always carrying a trash can every morning, I finally asked him before we moved to the new corporate office, was, why are you always carrying a trash can at 7 a.m? And he said, because I've always been advised to lock my office and not let people clean my office. And he said, so every morning, first thing I get in, I clean my office and I throw away the trash because I'm able-bodied and I do it. I don't ask anybody else to do it.
No.
And that was a respect thing for me,
absolutely.
is that he did it himself. And so that's why he was always carrying the trash can.
Leaders eat last.
Yep. Every time.
And they empty their own trash cans. Yeah.
I love Simon Sinek. I get his newsletter every morning.
Yes.
Every morning.
So Pinot's grew from 1 to 3 separate locations. Talk about that a little bit, the process you went through there, the things you experienced.
I will be really honest. This is full transparency, full stop. I opened our Cherry Street store using a bonus that I had gotten from ConocoPhillips. I had saved up money and I don't know what I was going to do with it. Well, when we bought Pinot's, I used it to open our store. So I opened it on Cherry Street. It was kind of our flagship store because I knew it needed to be in a cool district. So I got it open. And I lucked out with what I thought marketing should look like. It was different than what most people do traditional marketing, and which we can jump into that later if we want to. But really, I jumped in and kind of did it differently when I was opening, and it paid off. We were sold out every class. Anytime this is a joke I used to say, and it's probably a little bit maybe off color, but I used to say we could put a shiny turd on a canvas and it would sell. Because people were just we would put the most random paintings on and it would just sell out with 100 people on the wait list. And we could only hold 40 in the class. And I'm like, what is happening? So one night I was not prepared. I did not have the money to open a second store. That was not my goal, actually, at all. One night I was working a class. We had been open, 5-6 months. And one of my artists, she's a beautiful model. She's also a spokesperson. She doesn't work for us anymore because her modeling career took off, and as it should. She's just phenomenal. And she's a very talented Native American artist. So anyways, I saw her across the room, and I saw her talking to a gentleman who was a customer with his wife. And I saw her face whip around and look at him, and she whipped her finger up and shook her finger in his face like he said something inappropriate to her, and she put him in his place, which is what I loved about her because she was very beautiful and very delicate. But man, she had brothers. You could tell. I mean, she was like not taking crap from anybody. And I started to walk over there. As an owner, you're like a new business and you're like, oh, I need to go smooth it over. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to let the silence fall. And then I'm going to wait till she comes back and ask her what happened. So she comes over, and I hope this guy's not listening, but she comes over and she was heated. And I said, what's going on? And she goes, oh, you don't need to do anything. I took care of it. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, this guy said that he is buying a Pinot's Palette franchise for South Tulsa tomorrow. And he wanted to know what you pay us, how many hours we get paid, and all this stuff so he can beat us in sales and shut me down and beat us. And she goes, first of all, no one, and what I loved about her is I think she was one of those people that she probably had struggled growing up or something, because she was like, no one messes with my paycheck. That's what she said to me. And she goes, that's what I waved in his face, was no one messes with my paycheck. And if you think you're going to pay me more after she's done all this stuff for me and trained me and done all these things, which is the other thing that I felt like they had my back.
Nice.
But she was like, we're not doing that. If you were going to buy a Pinot's Palette franchise, you should be a team player and want us to both grow, which I thought was interesting. So I walked over, introduced myself to him, and he was just a jerk. He was just a jerk. So I stewed on it the rest of the class. And at 11:30 at night, on my way home, I called the CEO of Pinot's Palette's cell phone, and he answered. I woke him up, his family up, and I gave him an earful. And I said, this a-hole should not ever own a franchise in our system. I said, I don't care if you don't sell it to me, but he is not a team player. He is not the person you need to be selling this to. And he goes, well, you didn't buy the area agreement. You bought one location. And I said, but you didn't even call me to give me the benefit of the doubt. And he goes, well, do you have the money? And I said, no. I literally have not a dollar to my name. I went $30,000 over budget to just get this open. I have no money. And he goes, well, this is the whole goal of a franchise, to sell franchises. So sorry, but unless you're going to do it, he's probably going to get it. But we have 38 people sitting in queue, ready with cash in hand to buy a Pinot's franchise for Tulsa. And I went, why have you not called me? And he goes, but you don't have the money. I said, give me 24 hours. So I remember I got home, I woke my husband up, told him what happened, and he goes, no, absolutely not. He goes, you're never home right now. We have a 1-year-old. Like, this is not happening. You are not opening another store. Plus, we don't have any money. We literally have no money. And I said, but here's the problem. It's not that I want to own the market. It's not that I want to start another business. I literally don't have time and no money. But if somebody like that buys it, they are going to ruin my reputation and my location. And now we, as a family, lose everything. We lose that business that we've sunk all this money in. And he just stared at me and he was like, I see what you're saying. And I said, I don't want to do this either, but we have no option but to do this. And so I called 9 banks. Every one of them laughed at me. Everyone told me no. This is a true story. And I called my dad. almost at the 11th hour. And I called him crying and said, this is what's going on. I'm out of bullets. I don't know what to do. And he said, well, have you called Red Crown Federal Credit Union? And I was like, why would I call there? And he goes, well, I'm on the board. And I'm like, you're on a board of a bank? I didn't know this.
You have money in your pockets?
Yeah.
You could
I'm like,
loan
I
me?
didn't know this. And so he goes, why don't you call Red Crown and talk to them and see, like, there's just one more bank to call. So, I mean, I'm not a bank, but a credit union. So I got off the phone with my dad and I called them. Yeah, this is the craziest thing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of God moments in my journey of a lot of things. Called, and this gentleman answered the phone and said, hey, I'm Mike, and, this is Red Crown. And I said, I need to be transferred to the commercial lending department. And he said, well, I'm actually in that department. What can I help you with? And I just started crying. I was exhausted. I didn't know what to do. I didn't sleep that night, all the things. And I said, I this is what's going on. No one will give me money. No one will meet with me. And he started laughing. And he goes, well, I just took my wife to Pinot's the other night and we had the best date. And he was like, come in and we'll give you the money.
Oh.
To this day, I never told him my dad was on the board. I did not tell him because I didn't want that to be my crutch. I wanted it to be an earned thing. They gave me the money to buy the franchise. I bought it that next day, mailed the check in, and we got open on Riverwalk. And then 6 months later, the CEO of Pinot's Palette called me after Riverwalk got open. And he said, where the hell is Broken Arrow, Oklahoma? Because we have 40 people who have cash in hand ready to buy a franchise for Broken Arrow, but I'm doing you a favor. I'm calling you to see if you want it instead. And
was
I said, this time I have the money.
11:30 at night?
No.
Okay.
It was like at 2 in the afternoon.
Okay.
But my response that time was, I have the money this time and I will
Nice.
buy it. I'll send you a check tomorrow. And so I opened one in 12, the second one in 13, and then the third one in 14. And it was, I would like to say I was in control. I was literally being dragged through life by the horse tail. Like the horse was just running the race and I was literally like just hanging on for dear life. I literally didn't know what I was doing.
Wow.
So
Follow up.
I mean,
How do you
I don't
follow
know.
that?
Well, actually, one of the things I think is very cool, isn't this a Red Crown right out here
Yeah.
on the corner? I mean,
Yes.
we're literally
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
300 yards
That's where
from
I
our...
went to do the paperwork.
Yeah, it's just...
Wow.
There's no coincidences.
No.
No, there's not at all.
We were going to ask you kind of anything through that period of time that nearly broke you, and I think you just kind of went through all that. So that
Oh,
was an
so
amazing
many
story.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then when I was opening my third store, we were getting open and I ended up getting diagnosed with breast cancer.
Which is exactly where I wanted to
Yeah.
go.
And so it was one of those things where we had only been open maybe a month or so. And I went in for a preventative double mastectomy. I have the gene, and my mom had breast cancer twice. Her mother had it 3 times. So I knew I probably was a patient. It would be happening. But I went in for a preventative double mastectomy. It's another God moment. Went in, almost didn't do it, and postponed it for 6 months. If I would have, I would not be here today.
Wow.
But I went in for a preventative double mastectomy. All my scans were clear, nothing on the radar. Went in, had the double mastectomy on a Monday. Got a call on Thursday afternoon. I remember I was sitting on the couch with my husband and my best friend. I was wrapped in drains and all my bandages. And the surgeon called and said, hey, I'm calling to, remind you about your post-op tomorrow. And I said, okay. And she's like, but, everything went great in surgery, blah, blah, blah. Like, just don't take any of your bandages off. Just let me do it tomorrow so we can whatever. And I said, wait a second, where are you calling me? And she got really quiet and I knew. And she goes, why'd you ask that? And I said, well, right out of college, when I couldn't find a job, I went to work for a surgeon. Nurses call patients. Surgeons don't call patients. Why are you calling me? And the silence was deafening and I knew. Immediately, I knew what was happening. And she said, you will not believe this, but I accidentally marked the bag of removed tissue to go to the lab instead of marking it clean because you'd had all these scans. There was nothing in your scans. So instead of throwing it away, it accidentally went to the lab. And some kid out of that whole bag of removed parts grabbed one little sample and stuck it under the microscope, and in it was the deadliest kind of fastest growing breast cancer you could ever. He could have grabbed a different sample and it would have never been found. But that one little sample under that slide, and she is like, so I want you to be prepared when you come tomorrow with all the questions. And I just said, okay, let's do this. And it was numbing at the time because I had just opened my third store. My staff was still being trained. Like it was just chaos. And to tie this back to business, one of the craziest things was I felt like I had a really great grasp on business. What cancer did for me as a business owner was I will never regret having breast cancer. I hated it, but I don't regret it because it made me a better person. It made me better business owner. So what it did for me that was very humbling is when I took a step back because my team jumped in and said, hey, we want you to take care of yourself. We're okay if you work, but let us run the stores and you focus on chemo and all the things. And we'll let you still do your marketing stuff behind the scenes from home, but let us run the stores. And I was very reluctant to do it, but I did. And as soon as I took my hands off the reins and let people shine, our sales went up 10%. And that was so hard for my ego to accept. It really was, because I was like, no one's going to do it better than me. And then it was like, no, you idiot. Like, they love the product just as much as we do and what we put out for the community. They may see things differently because they're the ones that talk to the customers every day, not me. And so that was a very humbling lesson. Sometimes a lot of us business owners get in our own way. And so that was it was the biggest blessing. It was also the hardest chapter, right? But anyways, but tying it into business, it really did affect my business in a good way. We do a ton of stuff for breast cancer awareness now and all kinds of nonprofit work. But either way.
Who would have thought that whole process was such a lesson to teach you to lean in? Yeah.
And to let go.
Yeah.
Like I was bear hugging things that I didn't even know I was bear hugging. Like to me, if you would have asked me, I'm one of those people, you and I are going to get to the same goal line. We may do it differently. I may run this route and you may run this route, but we still got to the goal.
Right.
I'm always very open to that. Like I'm like, however you want to do it, that's fine with me. And I think sometimes my employees get irritated when I say that because I think sometimes they just want me to tell them how to do it. But I'm like, no. You may have a better way to do it than I do.
Right.
But it took me a while to get to that point. Yeah. Just saying that and not being like, no, this is how you do it. I wrote a step-by-step checklist and this is how you do it. It's like, no. Everyone does it differently and they may be better. Half the time they are. Or should I say most of the time? Most of the time.
So good.
Yeah, I don't know how to. It's amazing because you told us you didn't look at our outline and you're hitting all the points that we wanted to cover.
Oh, well, good.
And so when you say things like to take it back to business, girl, you are taking it back to business with everything you're saying. And this is exactly why we wanted you to be on this episode, is to share these kind of things these things are valuable for new entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs that are struggling, all these, you're hitting all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I want to go into then is, I'm assuming you were a little scared, maybe a lot exhausted.
Oh,
how do you lead from that position? What worked for you?
I've made a lot of mistakes. I sometimes am too transparent with people and too vulnerable and too open book with people. And that vulnerability of me just being authentic, sometimes people have taken advantage of that. Mm. I wouldn't say any of my employees, but some other people in the business world, like they'll see my personality and they're like, oh, well, she would be fun to have to do a business thing with because she'll bring like a group of people that would probably spend money. And I can see through some of that. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I've just learned a lot about staying true to myself, but also like, I just really think admitting my faults and not thinking I have all the answers is one of the biggest lessons. And relying on people who know how to do something I don't, like hiring CCK or somebody like that. I know I can screw up a book real quick, but hiring the right people to fill my weaknesses and me take my strengths is really what makes me a better business person. I will say, as much as I don't want to give him the credit for it, there was a gentleman in my past that said to me when I told him when I was opening Pinot's, my very first store, he said, let me save you a lot of money. Hire your weaknesses out now. Keep your strengths because your strengths will fuel you because it's fun for you. It's easy, right? But if you hire out your weaknesses, then you don't have to deal with it and it won't suck your energy out. I didn't listen. And I tried to do QuickBooks the first year of being in business. I screwed up my book so bad I ended up having to pay somebody $4,000 to unwind every transaction I'd put in QuickBooks. And I realized, because I was trying to save money, what all small business do when we first start.
Absolutely.
And I was like, why didn't I just listen? So if you're listening, caller, please hire out your weaknesses. So I have, a bookkeeper now that does stuff. I have CCK to do my accounting. I sometimes will hire out marketing agency stuff because I'm burned out. I get overwhelmed because I have multiple jobs. I have an aging father. I have a teenage son who's on 2 competitive teams and academic teams. And he does competitions every weekend out of town. Like I literally I don't at times feel like I have a life. And that's another thing about small business is you're the janitor, you're the accountant, you're the marketing person, you're the hiring and the firing. You're all the things. And it can be overwhelming. And that's, I think, a big lesson to, yes, I think it's important to learn all the roles in your company, to just be familiar with them so you can do enough to manage. But at the same time, once you kind of get the gist of it, if it doesn't serve you, hire somebody who can take care of that piece so they're more efficient. It's way more effective.
Do you guys remember when Sean Copeland was on here?
Yeah.
He said his theme was outsourcing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was down to the basics. When we hear a CEO talk about outsourcing, he's talking about outsourcing the pull, outsourcing the things that were just not in their lane when he was talking about his home life.
Yeah.
And that is same concept.
Yeah. Well, now I will tell you though, there is also a downside to it. So I'm dealing with this right now, and I'll be super vulnerable. With everything after COVID, the price of everything has gone up. All of our costs of goods, but I can't pass all that to the customer. So right now our margins are getting smaller because what we have found is if I raise our prices the amount that I need to cover all of what everything has gone up, people will stop coming because they feel like it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So now the problem is I've outsourced so much stuff that I don't know how to do it. And I need to bring it back in-house to recoup, to save that money. But now I can't. So I'm kind of in a weird spot. But if you can afford to, it's the smartest thing to do. So now that it's kind of this weird balance of a juxtaposition of this was the right thing to do, but now it still is, but kind of not. It's this weird position to be in. So, but it is. I mean, I still farm out all of my accounting stuff because God knows I'll screw it up.
Not only Sean, but also when our partner Keena Leva was on last season, she also mentioned the same thing about outsourcing that kind of work. So I love what you had to say about keep the stuff that gives you energy.
Yeah.
So I just have this crazy question though.
Ask
okay.
It.
And so what was it like in your home? Because I know your husband. He's an amazing gentleman.
Thank you.
But he's got a different kind of job, not any less stressful, but he's working corporate.
Well, actually,
right?
He's in roofing.
He's in roofing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. How long has he been in roofing?
2 years.
Okay, so
year and a half, 2 years. But he's been in corporate for 20 years.
Yeah, this is back when you were starting Pinot, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, what was that dynamic like? Because it's again, not that he was not stressed, not that he was not working hard, but it's a different kind of work. So when you guys came together at night, how did that conversation go?
It was very colorful. It was very colorful. You know, my husband, so I'm 7 years older than my husband, but my husband is a very old soul, and I am a 13-year-old teenage boy at heart. And so I'm ornery, and I'm feisty, and I have all this energy, and my husband's like, I don't know how you do this. How are you so energetic? My husband is 7 years younger than me. He was a D1 college athlete. He was a starting pitcher at Tennessee. So he very much he is so mentally tough, where I am very mentally, my emotions are on my sleeve. My husband is very stoic. He can get up on a pitcher's mound and have 30,000 people booing him, saying horrible things, and he can tune it out. I'm an emotional person. I hear that and I'm like, what? How can you even focus on getting the ball across the plate? And we actually had this discussion not too long ago about how different our personalities are, but how we complete each other. Because my husband is super risk adverse, like my dad. And I think that's where, they say sometimes you marry your parent, kind of thing. We had this discussion. I'm like, you're very risk adverse, like my dad. You're very calm. You're very stoic. Where I'm like, we're doing this. We're gonna go to Ireland next month for this conference. And he's like, excuse me, what? And that's true. It's really happening. And he was like, we've never been overseas. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll ask off. And I'm like, yes. But where our personalities kind of come together, and in that sense of form, is my husband is very risk adverse. He'll say, well, tell me more. Why do you want to do that? I'm not telling you can't, because he knows I'd probably steamroll over him anyways. But he'll say, well, tell me why this matters to you. What does that mean? How does this look? So I can either be supportive or punch holes in it to try to keep you in check. Because if not, I will take off with the horses. And so it's very interesting because we have very differing viewpoints of everything except for music. But it's really funny. So yes, the conversations at night were very different. And the other thing is he has nothing to do with our stores. So he's very like in his own world. We barely talk about Pinots at home. Like we barely do, because early on he said, I need to have home be home.
Good.
And we not talk about work all the time, because if you're stressed out, I try to, as a man, I want to protect you and I want to care for you and I want to help. And it stresses me out when I can't do that because you're so independent. You want to take care of it yourself. And so he's like, I really want to keep work. He's like, absolutely. If you need something to talk about, please, let's talk about it. But if not, like, let's keep it separate. And we just have.
Yeah. Well,
I just complain to my girlfriends instead.
Sipping wine.
Yes.
That's what they're there for.
So you came out of this corporate environment. You went in to open up your own franchise. You expanded that. The breast cancer came along, which I'm sure was teaching you a story about your ability to control things. You get through that, and then COVID hits.
Yes.
Fairly soon after that. And I don't. The breast cancer is a continual thing. It's, yeah. I'm not saying it's not.
No,
but,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, but you go through that, and then you hit COVID, and oh my, you are nothing but discretionary income and face-to-face social interaction. Talk a little bit about that whole what you guys did to pivot out of that.
Oh my God.
And how all that went down.
So, true story. My corporate office, I think I can say this. My corporate office, the founders of Pinots were kind of on their way out. They were burned out. It was two gentlemen. I think highly of them, but they were kind of on their way out, and they had already started other companies. So they were kind of letting the corporate office run itself for Pinots. And all of us franchisees were pretty frustrated. And COVID hit, and they were radio silent. They weren't like, hey, we're here for you. We're like, I was texting the owners like, hey, just show up on a Facebook post for us owners or something. Like, we need to know you're going to be here. Well, they didn't. And so there was about 9 franchisees. We all put our heads together and we're like, so I will tell you this. I want to say that I was smart enough to save the companies, but we lucked out. We really did. Like, it was really a luck thing. So COVID hit the week before spring break.
Right.
I will never forget this. And we had sold out classes, all the things coming up. And when it hit and the corporate office wasn't responding, they weren't jumping in to help. There was like 9 of us franchisees that jumped on a Zoom, and we were like, we've got to save the franchise system. We've got to come up with something. One lady is super techie. She's still in the military. I don't even know what her ranking is, but she's incredible. She flies helicopters during the day with like combat, and then she owns Pinot Studios in Seattle. Like, she's just amazing. And she's super techie. And she was like, I'm going to figure out how to do a virtual platform. And then I said, well, great. I have amazing instructors. I'm going to bring in my instructors one at a time, because obviously we were still distancing.
Right.
And I mean, because it all just happened. We didn't know if we were all going to die if like you touched your phone or like we didn't know. And I said, I'm going to bring them in one at a time, and we're just going to record 24 hours. Like every 2 hours, we're going to have an instructor in. I had 2 classrooms at the Riverwalk, and I set up camera equipment, like literally with like iPhones and iPads, and recorded. We picked our top 10 selling paintings, and my artists just in each room acted like they had a class, and they walked step by step, just like the class, but I recorded them. Then we put them on a shared platform. And so other owners jumped in and had their stores. Like, we picked paintings, like, I'll do these 3, you do these 4, you do these, and whatever. And we created this whole platform to do a take-home kit thing where we could put everything in a bag. People take the stuff, and then we send them the link after they paid for it with a password protected thing for them to log in. And no lie, I was like, wait a second, because I'm a marketing brain. That's what I'm good at. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I think like a customer or marketing stuff. And I said, wait a second, spring break is coming in like 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
What if, because everyone's freaked out, they're home with all their kids and they had all these trips planned and now they're stuck home with their kids, they don't know what to do. I'm going to play on that emotion. So I jumped in and sent out a newsletter to our customer base here and said, hey, we're doing this out of the Riverwalk store only. You can buy a kit with a virtual class for your kids or for you if you're stuck at home, whatever. We sold $36,000 worth of take-home kits in 24 hours.
Wow.
It paid our rent until we could kind of figure out what was going on. For all 3 stores, our rent's about $25,000 a month, and between all 3, and it just took off. And so it was not my idea. I just jumped in to help the other franchisees that did it, and we ended up saving the franchise system. And so I say they really did. I just jumped in to help. But so we pivoted that way, but then quickly, we realized that everyone wanted out of the house, and we all weren't going to die. And yes, we should wear masks, and we do the 6 feet and all the stuff. And we reopened at half capacity, less than half capacity, 20 in a class, which really doesn't cover costs. But it was better than nothing. Mm-hmm. And our landlords all were great. They said, we'll give everyone 3 months rent free just to try to stay afloat and whatever. And that's what most landlords did across America. But it was interesting just because now we all of a sudden had a whole new platform that we had to manage. And then the owners kind of jumped in and were like, hey, thanks. We're going to take it from here, and we're going to take this and run with it. And we were like, what? But it all worked out. And so now we have a really great platform that's kind of like Netflix. Our virtual sales are not hardly anything because people want to get out and want to be around people, and they want to be connected to. But we still offer it. And it's just fascinating to see, what we didn't realize is, so I forgot his name, Matt Pinnell, the Lieutenant Governor of Oklahoma. I had met him at a chamber event a few months before COVID. And my phone rang one day during this whole COVID thing. And I didn't recognize the number, almost didn't answer, and then I last minute answered, and it was Lieutenant Governor, and I still don't know how he got my cell phone number. And he said, hey, I need you to get open. I need you to open your stores. You're considered crucial. And I was like, what? Why? And I said, not that I don't want to. I mean, I need to get open, but I don't, why? And he said, what we're seeing is a major mental health decline. We're seeing people who are stuck at home in abusive situations that now they can't go to work to escape that situation. We need people out, and we need people doing things that are positive. And what you do, he's like, I took my wife there on a date right before COVID. It's a positive environment. It gets people to stop, thinking they're going to die and all the things. And he's like, I'm encouraging you to get open. If you need a letter from the governor, I'm happy to do that. And I was just like, no, I'm good. I'll open if you give me permission. And so we did. We got open with 20 clients a class. And we literally would have people so far apart that it just looked like we weren't even open. It was funny. But we did, and it just kind of took off from there. And then once people realized we could get a little bit more, that we were open, then people started coming, and then we started selling out of our classes, even if it was only 20. But we started selling out because people were so eager to get out and connect to other humans again. So it kind of worked. And it's funny because we saw people say, I haven't spent time with my adult kids in a long time, and this was great because we talked and we laughed, and we had fun, and we sipped libations, and so, anyways.
Sip libations. Love it. Love it. So you've been transitioning a little bit lately. Let's wrap up with some of that stuff. You are a food stylist.
Yes, I'm a professional food stylist.
What the heck is that?
Okay, so great question.
For our listeners.
Because Sarah knows for sure. She doesn't need to know.
So how I got into this, which will explain some of it, is I worked at Quick Trip, right?
Right.
Well, my first year at Quick Trip, I worked in marketing. There was a lady that got hired on right after me in marketing. She was a graphic designer, also a photographer. She was amazing. And she used to work with photographers that would shoot the food for Quick Trip. So when you drive by and you see a billboard that's got a hot dog and a drink, or a sandwich and a drink,
grilled cheese,
or something.
All day.
What is it?
Grilled cheese with bacon.
I ate one yesterday.
It's a very favorite lunch of all time.
Have you had the brisket grilled cheese yet?
No. Okay, that's today.
It's naughty.
Thank you.
It's naughty. But so she called me and was like, hey, do you remember when you worked in marketing 25 years ago? We had a food stylist. And I said, yeah. And she's retiring. And I thought she was calling to get a reference. And I said, I don't know any other food stylists. Right. And she goes, no. I need somebody who doesn't need a full-time job, because this isn't a full-time job. It's a few days a month. And you're fun to work with. You're detail-oriented. You think like a customer. Would you want to learn? And I was like, what? I literally, it was I think I was actually pumping gas when she called me.
looking at the food.
And I was like, I'm kind of a yes person to life. So I was like, I'll try. And she was like, really? So long story short, I auditioned with some photographers and other food stylists.
Wait. You auditioned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's big money, like, and how much they spend on like billboards, TV commercials, advertisements, signage in their stores. So I auditioned and they picked out of, a handful of us, they picked me and one other girl. And the other girl was a professional food stylist. Her resume was impressive. And she ghosted them her first day. So they called me and were like, we have all these photographers on set. We've got this week-long shoot. Can you be here tomorrow? And I was like, sure. So I didn't know what I was doing. And what was really funny is they fake it till you make it. I literally went to Walmart and bought a tackle box, and I went and walked down aisles thinking of things that I might use on set, like toothpicks, Q-tips, tweezers, like all these things. And I put it in my tackle box so I looked like I knew what I was doing and bringing tools.
Nice.
And so when I got there, she goes, now none of these people know that you're not a professional food stylist. They think that you are. So don't tell them. Just do the best you can. And I literally faked it until I made it. And they were like, you're really good at this. And I thought,
wow,
wait, what? And I look back on my first food. It was so bad, you guys. It
like
was
this
so
podcast.
Was it a hot dog?
No, it was a sandwich. And when I say it was bad, I realized my fingerprints were in the bread. So I was squeezing it hard. I was so nervous. All the things that you shouldn't do as a food stylist. So now that was 6 years ago. And so when that other girl ghosted them, I jumped in and just was like, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. And I told, after we kind of got in a rhythm, we have a team built. I said, listen, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm willing to learn. I won't take offense if you don't like something I said on set. Just tell me what you don't like about it and let me fix it. So I think they like that because I will walk in and I'll put something on set. I think it looks amazing. And they'll be like, oh, it looks like crap. And I'm like, okay, what do you not like about it? Let me go back and start over. Let me make another one. And they like because I can take the feedback. And I also think like a customer. So I'll look at it. So there's 4 or 5 of us on a shoot. Every time we shoot, we've got a photographer, lighting person, me, the food stylist, then we've got the Quick Trip marketing employees that manage the studio. And so, but I make food. Now it's taken off. I told nobody I did it. And then I happened to mention in an entrepreneurs group one day that I'm a food stylist on the side. And one of them happens to own 12 restaurants here in town. And he looked at me and he goes, we're friends. Why have you never mentioned this? And I said, well, first of all, I don't identify that as my career. But second of all, I would never try to get business from a friend. That's not what I want to do.
Right.
I just mentioned it because somebody asked me what I do for a living. And he goes, well, funny enough, I have a shoot tomorrow. And I got an idea. And I love him because he does this to people all the time and he levels people up. He said, I'll give you a shot. You come food style tomorrow for free with the photographers that I have coming in for one of my food chains. And if it goes well, I'll start using you on all my shoots. And we do them every month. And I went in the next day, met the photographer, and I could tell she was like, who is this person that he brought in the last minute? I've been doing his stuff for years.
Right.
And her and I just clicked. She is awesome. We started working in that shoot. And we were right hand and left hand, like a surgeon and a ER nurse. We just were on it. And before I knew it, now I work for national brands. I help brands do national packaging. I do billboards, TV commercials, all this stuff. It is so fun. It's so hard.
Cool.
I food styled all day yesterday and I food style all day tomorrow. And I'm exhausted today, but I love it. It is so fun. It's just playing with food. I've never been more frustrated.
Look like it's full?
That just making it look like it's edible.
Yeah.
My thing is one of the things I told Quick Trip is I'm obviously not a trained food stylist. I didn't have any training. I just watched YouTube tutorials and studied billboards and studied, I would literally go to Taco Bell's website and look at their food. I would go to Arby's and I would just try to figure out why did they put the camera angle this way? Why is that lit up but this other side's dark? Why is that? Trying to figure it out. And I just loved it. It was fun to me. It was like a puzzle piece to kind of mess with. But what's funny is I'm a horrible cook.
But I bet you make it look.
No, my husband's like, do they know you don't cook? And I'm like, but one of the things where I was going back is when I sold Quick Trip, I said, I'll do this. But my only thing is I want to use real ingredients that the store employees use, the same exact things, because I own a business now. I don't want to misrepresent Quick Trip. You put a sandwich on a billboard and it's not what the customer gets. And then now you getting sued for it because everyone's too happy. And I said, I want to make the same thing. So I want the same food that the store employees get with the same ovens, the same scoops, everything. And they kind of looked at me funny and they're like, okay, we'll do that. They built me a Quick Trip store kitchen in this warehouse. So I have the ovens on this wall, my station with all of the stuff, refrigerators and freezers behind me of all the food that comes from the warehouse that goes straight to the stores. They order me the exact ingredients I need for that recipe that we're shooting that day, all right here. And then I just take it straight to set. And I even use the same scoops that they use to measure out like what you would see in the store. And I try to make the food look real, made by store employees. Now, sometimes it's a little bit prettier, but I literally measure it out, make it the same way, use the same ovens, so it's a representation. It just looks a little bit nicer.
Right.
That's all.
It's not wrapped in paper. So,
right.
I mean, I'm sure when it comes out, it does.
It does. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But when they wrap it in paper, it gets all squished. Yeah.
Sure.
Or customers even just like walking in and, moving stuff around. But so it's super random. It's funny because I don't tell people I do it, but more and more people, like, they'll call the photographer and say, hey, do you know of a food stylist? And she's like, yeah, actually, there's one here in Tulsa. And people are like, what? So it's funny. I get cold calls. I had a text message from a guy I've never met before Sunday night. And he's like, hey, I'm an art director for an ad agency in Bentonville, Arkansas, which we know who is in Bentonville. One of the companies that we have in our stores needs a food stylist tomorrow. Ours got COVID. Can you come in tomorrow to Bentonville? We'll pay you handsomely. And I'm like, I'm already booked with Quick Trip. I'm so sorry. So it's like, but I'm like, how did you get my number? Who is this person? Like, I wanted to be like, what agency you're with so I could like research them, but I didn't. I just said, but thank you for the opportunity, but I can't.
Wow.
You look like you wanted to say something.
I have so many questions, but we just don't have the time.
I love the integrity that's behind it all.
Yes.
That you see it from the consumer's perspective.
Right.
And
that's
also
how I think.
protecting the producer, protecting the company from that integrity piece where there's no question.
Yeah. That's how my brain That's how my brain thinks about everything. Like that's how I'm wired. And I don't know if it's because my dad is super analytical, numbers oriented, and my mom was very much like, she's an educator. So she's like, let's bring everybody together. Let's level everybody up. So it's like this, I don't know. Maybe that's where I get it.
Yeah, I just have to.
I can see your wheels spinning. You're over there going, what?
Well, what I wanted to draw back was you mentioned this very early in our conversation about driving down Memorial and seeing the building and seeing what it. So this is something that has become a superpower of yours.
Oh, I like that. I've never thought, I have a power.
You have a superpower?
Superpower.
The other thing is like in our last episode, we had Johnny Hampton, and Johnny would talk about, he works with nationally known theme parks. So he would go into the theme park and observe people for the projects he was doing. So that observation is
that's interesting.
Very cool thing. The other thing that I was thinking about is literally, and I'm not joking, ever since you started doing this, whenever I stand there and pump gas at Quick Trip and I look up and I see a picture, I think of you.
Yeah.
So now we have not only had world-renowned athletes, CEOs, coaches, we have had a nationally known food stylist too.
Well, I'm not nationally known,
I think,
but I am to run the microphone.
You will be when you get on this podcast. But I mean, it's just, you look at something like that and you go, well, that's a cool picture.
Yeah.
But you don't think of
the person,
everything that goes behind it.
You don't think of the 7 people behind that one chicken strip to make you buy that chicken strip, right? Like there's the lighting expert, there's the photography expert, there's the graphic artist, there's the food stylist, there's the sales manager that approved the photo, there's a print person that printed it to put it on the signage. Like it's just this domino effect of things that you don't think about behind the scenes of all of that.
Well, and they need someone like you because like Christy pointed out, the authenticity, if it looks like crap, you're I think if they came up and said, hey, this whatever is just a piece of junk, but we need you to make it look beautiful, I think you would go, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's
you can't
been
put lipstick
some where
on a pig.
I've been like, I actually said it yesterday, I was making a quesadilla and it looked like vomit. It literally did, because the quesadilla color, it was a Southwest quesadilla, so the tortilla color was this beigey, muted red. Like I think it was like just a Southwest flavor, but it was this weird color. But then the chicken was beige on this muted red, and then the cheese was beige, and it was just beige on beige on beige on beige on beige on beige on beige, and it literally looked like a stack of vomit. And I was trying to cut them to where like the chicken might be brighter. And like, and I just said, there's only so many ways you can shine a turd. This is not pretty. And the photographer laughed, and so did the Quick Trip director. She was just like, listen, we just have to make it work because it's going on phase 1, which means it's the big promo signs because it's coming up. And I literally had to like turn the quesadilla 15 times to like make one stack go one way and the other one, so you could tell it was a triangle. You didn't see it was just a pile of like beige on a set. So there are times where like we're like, this is as good as it's gonna get. Like, it's just crap.
So
you're
now
never gonna look at food.
FYI, it's so good. I had one in Illinois. They don't have them here in Tulsa right now.
What? The chicken?
The chicken quesadilla.
Oh,
and it's awesome.
I don't know if they have them here or not. I don't think they do.
It's in Effingham, Illinois. It's on our way. It's on the way to Pennsylvania. You should watch it. I forgot the name. I didn't mean to draw it out. I think that's the name of it.
Shout out to Effingham. Send us emails,
Effingham. At Effingham. How do you spell that?
I'm just going to tell
E-F-F.
It is
I think it is.
It is. But if you guys can stop for a minute and just listen to how delicious this chicken quesadilla was. It was the bomb.
It was effing delicious. Circling it back to Effingham.
Here's the deal, QT. We are open to a podcast sponsorship if you want to come on and sponsor us.
Or at least a taste test.
There we go. So I was going to say, I can't wait to see this quesadilla picture. But so what else are you doing besides the styling? You're coaching a little bit too, right?
No, I get asked all the time from like small business owners, like, hey, will you meet with me and just kind of give me some feedback or whatever. And I do that, but I don't really coach. I just do that as like just wanting to connect with other owners. But honestly, my father's getting a little bit older, so I'm spending a lot more time with him. But our son, we have an only child as well, and he's on 2 swim teams, academic team. He just is a go-getter, and I love that. But his 2-a-day practices and his swim meets twice a week and out of town are eating my lunch. And so I'm actually trying to start stepping back a little bit from work at Pinot's to try to like be able to be a little bit around more family stuff and not be like, I mean, most of my days are up at 4:30 or 5, and I go to bed at 10:30 or 11. Like I just, I don't have enough time in the day.
Lot going on there. That was fun, wasn't it, Sarah?
Yeah.
So you're doing this, aren't you? No.
Pivot.
Well,
I started to, and then I was like, that doesn't fill my cup coaching other. Like I want to connect with others, but I just don't think that was where I thought my heart wanted to go there. And then I just decided that was not where I wanted to go. I just rather help people.
Well, from now on, you can just forward them a copy of a link for this email or this podcast episode and say, hey, if you still want to, but this, I mean, you have not disappointed one bit from the perspective of the authenticity, the vulnerability, the golden nuggets that you're dropping for business owners.
Well, thank you.
One last question.
Anything. What's
a belief about business that you simply no longer buy into?
That being a small business owner means you have money. I get told all the time by people who don't own a business, like most of my friends work in the corporate world or they work for a big business. And they're just like, oh, well, you just make your own schedule and you just make all this money. And I'm like, boo,
liar.
You have no idea. Rent gets paid first, everyone else's payroll, all the bills, and what's left over. If I get something, I get something. But there's months I don't get paid. Like it just depends. And so I think people just assume because I'm happy, that equals wealth. And wealth to me is not money. Wealth is health and happiness.
Yeah, I was going to say health.
And so
it is wealth.
People translate that wealth aspect in my happiness into that means money. Yeah. And that doesn't mean I'm broke. I'm obviously not broke. But there's times I've lived paycheck to paycheck, even if I had a 6-figure business before. Like, I think there's a major misconception that if you own a business, you just rake it in and you just profit, just put money in your pocket. And I know most small business owners will not say that. They will not say that. They won't admit it because it means that they're not successful. To me, being successful is employing people who love their job, love coming to work. You have a great product that you put out that people love and they think positively of you. I always want to know when somebody's had a bad experience at Pinot's, because if we don't fix it, we can't make it better. And I want good things in the world. I want good things out there in the world. So to me, a lot of people have a misconception about being a business owner.
you responded pretty quickly. So it's probably something you've thought of before and experienced.
Well, I get just people just talk trash sometimes. And, I hear other people, like, they don't know I own a business. So I hear them talking, amongst our group, and they'll just be like, well, they should probably just make all this money, and they don't pay their employees any better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa.
Back to truck 'em.
Well, yeah. Let's for us to be open, we are paying our employees the max that we can to be able to make any money to pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always started my employees out at 15 or more. Always. And, but that's just one of those things where there's this big misconception right now of people just saying, but I know that kind of got dark or deep really quick, but there's this, you can see it all over the internet. People are like, no one gives anybody a livable wage anymore. It's not that. It costs so much money to run a business, even if it's a small business, then unless you are working out of your house, you have no employees and you have no overhead, it costs 10 times more than anyone ever will really ever grasp to own a business.
Good stuff.
Good
stuff, Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Well, yeah, we knew it would be.
Yes.
We knew that you were going to be a gem, and so you did not disappoint.
It's very
sweet. How can people connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
They can email me. I have a website. It's not updated, so don't judge. It's lisawriley.com, or they can email me at lisa@lisawriley.com email address. And so, yeah, anyone can connect with me there. They can come to Pinot's, any of that. I'm an open book.
Do you have a book?
You are about the 100th person that's asked me that. I have started to write thoughts in my head, and I am horrible at that stuff because I want to write a book about my journey and about all the things, because I feel like I have a lot of life lessons to share with people. Whether I'm not trying to teach anybody anything, but just sharing my journey. Like, I have all kinds of things that I learned from my mom before she passed. And I want to write a book, but I'm just a horrible, writer. I'm horrible at it.
I think someone's going to hear it, because what you bring is, you've said it a couple of times, you bring positive things. If I were to say it, I'd say you bring joy.
Yes. Thank you.
And sharing it with so many people, I hope this is one way that it can connect you to something else where you get it to a bigger audience, because I think that messaging is really strong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Well, the other part to it is, go back to what we were talking about earlier. Your joy may be in telling the story and getting it all out. Outsource the other stuff. Get a ghostwriter who takes all that stuff and puts it down for you. And because, I agree with Christy. You've got some stuff to share there. So who knows when the timing's right, I guess.
Maybe.
Right?
I've always wanted to say I wrote a book, but I have imposter syndrome like everyone else. No one wants to hear my story. I don't have anything to share. It's not anything special. I had a gentleman once in an entrepreneurs group. He'll probably hear this because he listens to podcasts, and he also owns an accounting firm. So he'll probably listen. One day I said, no one understands my situation and what I'm going through with the business. And he's held his hand up, and he goes, "You're not special." And I remember sitting across the table, and it was like somebody sucker punched me. But then I sat on it, and I just said, "You're right. I am not special. I am like everybody else. We all have our things. We all have our gifts. Everyone's gift's different. And you're right. I'm not special." But it kind of got in my head a little bit. And so I'm like, no one will say what I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
So you, as a female also, we do that to ourselves. We sabotage ourselves. So anyways, I would love to write a book, but I have that imposter syndrome of
you are special.
You are.
Well, my mom said so.
Well, with that, we'll wrap up. We mentioned that we do have two traditions with this podcast. And so the second one is coming in now.
I'm scared.
It is time for
Rapid fire.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm scooting the chair back.
Do you want some water?
No,
Sarah, do you have questions, or were you
I was
relying
leaning on you.
Okay.
Are these one-word answers?
No, they're actually slightly deep, but
okay. God.
So in the thing about Pinots, what's your favorite painting or artist?
Oh, Georgia O'Keeffe, for sure.
Okay. I don't know who that is, but...
She's an artist that passed away, but she had a ranch in Santa Fe. She has she would make flowers and paint flowers, but they would take up the entire canvas. Okay. I realize why you're probably giggling. There's a lot of people that think her stuff is sexually oriented, but it's not. And so a lot of people, it's not. It's just like a flower.
It's just autonomy.
Yeah. Do you remember on Breaking Bad? Jesse and his girlfriend, I think they went to go see Georgia O'Keeffe's.
I remember that.
Her museum in Santa Fe.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
But there's some people that take it in a weird direction.
Okay.
I just thought she was very cool.
Like anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, anything.
The colors are fun. It's beautiful.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's very large art.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to check it out.
Yes.
Question 2. Have you ever thought about wishing you had a different first name? And if so, what would that name be? For me, it was Steve.
You were Steve?
I wanted to be Steve when I was a kid.
Actually, yes, I can answer this right off the cuff. I wanted to be Samantha and be called Sam. My whole life. Because I hated the name Lisa growing up because I would be in a store with my mom and she would yell across the store, Lisa, like we'd be in Mays drugstore. And there'd be 3 of us that would say, yeah. And I'm like, everybody has this name because I'm a 70s baby, but I'm in the 80s and everyone was named Lisa because of the Sound of Music.
Yeah. So my initials spell Sam, and my youngest is going to have a baby in a couple months, or actually 5 weeks. And I'm going to be Sammy.
Stop.
Yeah.
You have my name. Give it back. Just kidding.
All right. What do you collect?
Oh, Jesus. My husband would tell you toss pillows, which I've been banned from buying. You know, I love weird geodes. That sounds really strange, but like we have a house in Colorado, a vacation place that we rent out to Airbnb, and it's right outside of Rocky Mountain National Park, and I love collecting like really strange rocks. And like that sounds, now I'm saying this out loud, it sounds really weird. But I love geodes. So like my husband, if he sees a geode store, he'll stop and be like, let's go into the store because I know you're going to want like some labradorite or whatever the hell you want. And he thinks it's strange, but he's gotten used to it now. So he'll like, put them in the window so they shine. But I love them.
So have you watched Shrinking?
Oh, no.
You need to.
Do I really?
Today.
Is it out today?
Mm-hmm.
The day we're recording?
Yes.
So it's a show
TV.
about a.
Oh, wait.
It's on Apple TV?
With
Jason
Harrison Ford.
Jason Segel.
Yes. Okay. I watched the first season.
Oh.
Yeah. So one of the characters, she
The next
collects
neighbor.
gourds or whatever you
Geodes.
and she
Not
gives them.
gourds. Those are pumpkins.
I'm the man.
I don't collect
I'm the man.
pumpkins. I collect rocks.
But when you get to a certain point in your relationship with her, she gives you one.
Yeah.
And so they're all fighting over.
That's right, because she would polish the rocks in the driveway.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. That's right.
Apple
Sorry.
TV.
Digress.
If you want a sponsorship,
I need to,
we're open to.
Yeah, I need to go back and finish watching the next season.
Last question.
Yeah.
What never fails to make you laugh?
A really good dirty joke. Like, I just am like, I love to laugh. I love, like, I'm klutzy. I'm the first one to be like, yeah, if you need somebody to get on stage, I guess I'll get up there and do something stupid. Like, I just am, I'm a yes person to life. I will say yes to anything. So I'm not scared to just try it once. And even if I fail and fall flat on my face, I'm like, well, at least it was a good show.
Yeah, at least it was a good show.
It was at least a good show.
Sarah, do you want to kind of close us? Oh, you don't have your notes on. I would have thought that after a season or two.
I know, I would have it memorized.
Yeah.
I can at least say, if you would like to contact us, you can email us at podcast@cckcpa.com. Please email us. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear any questions you have, any comments, or any episode ideas.
Absolutely. We're still trying to pump up those emails.
Yes.
So I think that's the key in season 2 is to
get some emails.
So
we want to converse with our listeners.
We want to connect with our listeners.
Yes.
And
if you can't get in touch with Lisa, if you didn't hear that, reach out to us. We'll connect you.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I'll talk to anybody.
Podcast@cckcpa.com. With that, we're going to shut it down. We want to thank, I do write it down. So thanks CCK for this platform and the opportunity to do this as always. KP, thank you so much for protecting the brand and keeping us on the straight and narrow.
My pleasure.
Robert, thank you for the intro and outro music. Robert Mays, Clarence Fisher, our sage, our guru, Tulsa Internet Marketing Services, thank you. And Emily Johansson for helping us always get across the goal line. So we had fun today.
Yes.
I knew this would not disappoint. Lisa, thank you so much. We always enjoy having someone as lively as you. And so thank you.
Definitely not quiet. Thank you for having me. This was great. I really enjoyed this. This is fun to talk about business stuff.
Yes.
It absolutely is, especially in this medium with this kind of fun. So we hope that if you're listening right now, we hope that you join us next time. Share our links with your friends too. Tell them about us. But we hope that you join us next time. And you can find out what these two CPAs are doing and who is on the mic.
The information provided on this podcast is for general, informational, and educational purposes only and does not constitute accounting, tax, legal, or financial advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations change and individual circumstances vary. Always consult with a qualified CPA or professional advisor before making any financial or business decisions. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any organizations they are affiliated with. Listening to this podcast does not create a client-accountant relationship. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree to those terms. And that's a wrap for this episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Have questions or ideas for a topic? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@cckcpa.com.